Hi, you're welcome to my Nine Lives, a podcast where we share our stories of resilience, our stories of rebuilding ourselves, reinventing who we are, time and time again, as often as we need to. And I remain your host, Amaka Lawton. Today I've got the lovely and delectable Toni, who is our guest today, Toni Mortimer. I'm going to let Toni introduce herself because I'm not sure I'll do justice as to explain to you who Toni is. You're welcome, Toni.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It is a privilege and an honour. Yeah, because you too mean a lot with, what I know of you and heritage, etc. It's great. It'd be good for other women to see the strength and the resilience within strong women, and also to sort of to highlight, why are we on this powerful journey? What does it mean? Um, and there's a lot of questions around that, an awful lot of questions. Women say, I'm facing this, I'm facing that. Why? But basically, yeah, I mean, my heritage is Italian. So from a very small village in southern Italy, where my parents were both from the same village, actually, where the inhabitant is only like 3,000. So my dad was asked to go to France to work because there was no work there. It was pretty normal back then in the 60s. And when he married my mum, of course, they both then went to France. So, that's actually where I was born, interestingly enough. And my uncle and aunt are still there. My cousins are still there. Um, and you don't know where life's going to take you
Yeah.
because, your parents' line, they're in control of you until you are old enough to leave. So your life actually shapes around them. So however they nurture you and lead you is a platform to how you're going to face the world.
Yeah. So tell me, or tell our viewers,
Yeah.
what you do currently, who you are, everything in terms of, know you are currently in politics, but I know there's a whole load of other things you do.
Mhm.
So I want you to introduce yourself to us in terms of every single thing you do.
Okay. Right. Well, politics is a good one, and that's probably the latter part of my life. We could start there. I came to this town. I'm not from this town, so it was really interesting actually because I came up here for family reasons to be close to family, and I just joined a community. And next minute they said, "Tony, you'd be really good at speaking out for the people." I mean, I've always been about for the people and helping people because why? Because of my life journey. I've got a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. I can help a lot of people through my having gone through that path. You can go to college and you can have a degree, but if you've not lived that road, you're not got the experience. And I felt that I had. So I was thrown in the hat, and then next minute, I became a counsellor. Wow, which was phenomenal, really. I'd only been here just over a year, but my determination, and it's that gut within your gut that lifts you up, that you're going to succeed. And it's my campaigning around everywhere and speaking to people. And yeah, I got in. Now, I go to meetings, and I know I'm making a difference.
In talking about making a difference, and I know everything is a layer that kept building
Mm,
on top of each other. So let's from the politics, let's go a bit back to the traditions
mm.
that shaped you as an Italian migrant here. Tell us about that. Which of those traditions, especially the ones your family refused to let go of, that has shaped who you are currently today and has made you have such rich experience to draw from, even in your current status?
Well, that's an interesting question. That is very interesting question. So, I was 6 months old when my parents brought me here, and so household was just as if I lived in Italy.
Wow.
We weren't allowed really to be friends with any English people. I hate to say it. I mean, how silly is that? I went to school at 5, not one word of English,
Wow.
not one word. I was bullied at school badly because in the 60s, there was no foreign people.
Yeah.
And I had to really fight my corner. For the first time in my life, I thought, what is this? We're just people. We're just children, aren't we? And it really woke something in me to say, don't give up. This can't be right. And then my brother, when he joined that school, he was bullied. So then I'd got to look after him. So really, from a very, very young age, I'd got to hang on and think, no, this is not right. Um, but my parents insisted on continuing the tradition as if they still lived in this little village in Italy. No, you can't go out. No, you can't have friends. And my friend Eleanor, one of my best friends from school, would come to knock on the door. I can remember it one Sunday, and she knocked on the door, and she'd got mixed race brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
and my mum and dad said, "No, no, that can't be right. That you can't be friends with her. That can't be right." I mean, really,
Wow.
really, that's how backwards because they don't like to mix the blood.
Mix, yeah.
They really didn't. You know, for me to engage with any English, wow, that's diluting our blood. How dare you?
Wow.
And my friend would come and knock and say, "Is Antonietta coming out to play?" Would you close the door and say, "Go home and do some housework"? Have you not got no housework to do? Antonietta has. I mean, seriously, that's exactly how it was. That was my
It's
childhood.
almost like it's an African household
Yeah,
because I could totally
really.
relate.
Can
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah. And that was my upbringing. So, and then as I grew up into that, into like teenage times, I mean, I used to play for net. I used to love netball. I still do love netball, and I think, right, if I do the housework the night before and tidy up and do this, I can go to netball. I
Yeah.
love netball. And so I'd say to Mom, can I go netball tomorrow? No, you can't. There's housework waiting for you when you get back. I said, no, I wasn't. That was it. That's how it was. So they continue to bring that tradition. Then, as I got into like womanhood, they were I'd get people come to my house. That's how it was. So the Italian community, so they'd have little gossips together.
Yeah.
Oh, we can match that person up with them and match that person up with that. So
Yes.
I'd have people, parents, come to my house and say to my mum and dad, "Oh, we'd like Antonietta to marry our son." And I can remember was it Boxing Day, just after my birthday? I got this couple just turn up. Wow, I was ready to go out with my mum and dad. We used to go to this Italian club. And they were there, and I thought, what are they there for? And next minute, they'd come because they wanted their son to.
To marry you.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, oh my life. So, so my mum and dad says, okay, we'll have a think about it. I thought, we're not going to have a think about it.
Had you met the boy at all
No,
before then?
I just knew of him. No, not at all. Didn't know who he was. I knew of him. So we went to this Italian club thing as we did because I wasn't allowed out without my parents and all of us. And so my mum and dad had like weigh it all up. Oh, it is good stock and this, that, the other. I said, no, I'm not. I won't. I won't. Why won't you? So then they had to go and deliver the news. So deliver the news. I said no. And this went on. I had quite a few suitors.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
All Italians,
Yeah,
I
oh
suppose.
god,
Yeah, it
yeah.
had to
Oh
be.
god, yeah. They've all got to be from the village. We've all got to be able to see the bloodline.
Yeah.
You know. So of course, when I then opened my hairdressing shop, I was only nearly 18. I was nearly 18. Uh, so then I met my first husband. And so he came to have his hair done, this, that, the other, and asked me out.
Was he Italian?
No, God,
Oh my
no.
God. That's rebellion, Tony.
Oh my God, rebellion all my life. I think that's my middle name. It's my survival tactic.
I can identify with
Can
that.
you?
Oh gosh,
It's
yes.
it's my rebellion. It's something in here that's saying, no, I want to be truth to my soul. So no, I'm not going to compromise myself. No. But, going back to your question, which is a really good question, what has brought forward that's
Yeah.
helped me? Well, that's a really good question because, I look back and if I hadn't followed my mum and dad, if I hadn't, then I would have gone out discoing and this, that, the other.
Yeah.
And I would have got mixed up with various lads.
Yeah.
I know I would have, because I know when I used to like, even when I was married with Steve, I was only young and we used to go out. And, of course, I was a young person,
Yeah.
young woman.
Yes.
And so you'd get lots of people, lots of blokes coming to you.
Mm.
Now, my faith in I don't give myself away lightly, that has
Fantastic.
really stood me in good stead.
That gave you
That
a
gave
foundation and a discipline.
absolutely that I would not sell myself short.
So
And
even with all that
yeah,
sternness your
yeah,
parents did,
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
because that stayed with me, and I have never, ever, ever sold my soul to another partner, say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the only people they've been my husbands. There's been no, because that has been sacred to me,
Oh, lovely.
because they have said, look, you need to value yourself. This is what
Yes.
we're trying to do. We're trying to protect you. That is a thing that has stuck with me. I didn't like the thing, you can't go out, you can't do
Yeah.
this, you can't do that, you can't do that. Because you're in England, you want to live a life.
Of course. Yeah.
But one thing has stuck with me. And even though obviously my parents haven't influenced me ever since I've been married, of
Mm.
course, but actually that has stayed with me because I feel that that is important. And too many women, because they know no other,
Yeah.
they give themselves away and they don't realize how sacred they are as a woman.
Yes.
That giving yourself away to a guy
Yeah.
that's not worthy of you,
Yes. Yes.
right? And then you're in this karmic situation you can't get out of, and you've got other children, and it gets complicated. You've got to look at who you are, the gifts you've got within yourself, you know, and the power you've got and the
Mm.
power that God's given you.
Gosh, definitely.
So yeah, that is a really good question because that
That's
has
so
stayed with
powerful.
me. That
Yeah.
has really stayed with me. Everything else, no, I've been rebellious because obviously we're here. I want to see life
Yeah.
like everybody
Yeah.
else does.
Yes.
I didn't. I can remember there was in Nottingham, for example. There's a big goose fair, and we used to after school. After the half term, we'd go back and the teacher would say, "Oh, how would you goose fair?" And I think, "What goose fair? We don't go to it. What are you talking about?" So I can remember saying to my parents, they're always asking about goose fair. What is this? Oh, okay, then we'll take you. Yeah,
Something.
so
Yeah.
you do learn your way,
Mm. But you don't lose
but
yourself.
you don't lose yourself.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's really
So
lovely. So you mentioned you started your first business as an
yes,
18-year-old. That's
yeah,
remarkable.
because what happened was I this hairdresser. So I was a hairdresser from 14. As a Saturday girl, I carried on working. Then when I had a full-time job in an office um, with quite a famous guy actually, he does heating and stuff in the Marsden Hospital and other
Yeah.
London hospitals, and
Yeah.
I was his secretary.
Mm.
Yeah, but I carried on my part-time job as well. So I've always been that sort of person. But what happened was, I then said to Judy, who I was her shampoo girl, I said, "Oh, shall we open a shop together?" So we did. But then she wasn't there long. She left, and I had the shop to myself. And so I was, having this hairdressing shop. I worked for Boots in between as a secretary. And I just left and I opened
Open the
opened the
shop.
shop with
Yeah.
her. So I was very young, which is, I don't know, life takes you where it needs to be.
It
And that's where I
does.
met Steve, my first
Yeah.
husband. And that was why. So I've always been in business. Yes, actually.
So, Tony, you built a career in business at a time when women were not taken seriously, especially migrant women. How did you navigate the barriers you had to face in the UK?
That's a good question because, yeah, that's something I've faced. My career started in estate agent in the broadest part of my life. So I was like recapping, I was self employed, had the hairdressers. When I married my first husband, then I went into sort of normal to bring the children up, etc. I did a BTEC in business and finance as well.
Mm.
And from that, then I applied to be an estate agent because I thought, oh, I really like that. And that's a male dominated industry, or was then, going back to the 80s. And what I found is I had got resistance for having children. Can you believe it? So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. So I went for this interview and I said, I've done my BTEC. I'd like to apply. I did 2 weeks with them under the BTEC training thing. And the woman there said, but you've got children. How are you going to, how are you going to be able to do the job? I said, I will. You can't ask those questions now, but they're the questions I
Yeah, back
faced
then.
back
Wow.
then. Anyway, they said, "No, you've got no experience, so not really." I said, "If I said to you, I will do the job for 2 weeks and no pay, would you consider?" Because I know in my gut, and that's what I mean about resilience. You have this inner knowing, and I think people that are foreign, that have gone from one country to another, they're on a survival.
Yes. Survival
Do
mode.
do you
Yeah.
do can you relate to that?
Totally
Yeah.
relatable.
You, because you know you have to make it. You have to make it. And you have to really dig deep. You have to look within yourself and go the extra mile. And so it just come out the blue. I just said that. So I said, if I'm no good after 2 weeks, then fine. So they both looked at each other and said, okay then, Tony, you can work for us for 2 weeks for nothing. That was the biggest success I've ever achieved because it was unbelievable. After the 2 weeks, they said, "Fine, welcome aboard." And I worked for them full time. And then my career accelerated. I wanted to be a valuer, but the resistance, there was no women valuers. It was only male. Sorry, you can't move into that role. You're just a bit.
Wow.
It was very, very. But
Patriarchal.
I pushed, and that's what I mean about the resilience within, that it's an innate knowing. So they did offer me the job, and again, I made an absolute success of that with two small children. It was unbelievable. Um, and then shortly afterwards, the manager left, and I was left really, I suppose, steering the ship.
Wow.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, Amaka, right? They didn't pay me the salary of a man.
Oh yeah, that salary disparity was really a thing then,
It
wasn't
was
it?
huge.
Still is a
It
thing
still
till
is
date. Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
So, I did it. I proved myself over and over again. And that's the thing about women. They've always got to prove themselves.
Have to be that extra layer
That
good.
extra layer, proving themselves over and over again. It's so wrong, but that's how it is. And the thing is, you can't give up. That's the key. Never, ever give
No,
up,
no.
ever. But I think it's the fact that it's not your country. I think if I was in my Italy country and I'd got all my cousins around me, perhaps I'd have been laid back.
Yeah.
So actually, my upbringing has been the catalyst to who I am today. Because without that, if I'd got the comfort of having my grandparents, my cousins, I'd have probably been a bit laid back. I wouldn't be the same woman I am today, who I believe I can achieve absolutely anything I put my mind to. Anything. And that's the thing.
So I just want to take you back to something
Yes.
you mentioned about having two small children.
Yes.
And I want you to share with us how you were able to cope with that, with the divorce, with the fact your tradition was against getting a
Oh my
divorce,
God, yeah.
and then having to work as a mom, having to navigate all that. What helped you? How did you get that resilience to pull through and carry on, even in the face of family traditions trying to hold you back or breaking down around you?
To be honest, sometimes I look back myself and I think, how did I do it? The thing that was on my side was youth. I was young.
Yeah.
Um, but in those days as well, and I say it today as and some people might think, well, how did you do it? Because in those days there was no housing benefit, there was no food banks, there was no this and there was no that. Literally, two young children. First of all, I'd have to tell my parents because I never shared with them anything that was happening within the marriage ever. That was private, and I dealt with it myself. I couldn't go to my parents and whinge about it. It was just not a thing. Like today, we're open with our children
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
come to us.
Yes.
Our parents weren't our best friend.
No. Oh no.
Oh God, no.
No, God forbid they should be
God
your
forbid.
friend.
Do you see what I mean? Exactly. So when I shared with them that it was falling apart and I needed out, then no, it was awful. I'd got them battling with them. Then I was having to keep a household. Then I was having to show up at work in a responsible job by then because I was a valuer by then. I wasn't the manager, but I was a valuer by
Yeah.
then. That's responsibility. Um, and also, then my husband didn't pay me anything. The state didn't pay me anything. So I was literally on, you know, bread and water.
Wow.
I know that's exaggerating, but it was
Mm-hmm.
it was very difficult,
Tight.
very tight. So, but going back to, you have to find the strength. And I believe women who, you know, are here and are faced with these challenges, God knows that you are able to take them on. That's the truth. Otherwise, God wouldn't give it you in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly.
God doesn't give you anything that He knows you can't cope with.
Cope with. Mm.
So He gives you these because He knows you can, and because you've got a bigger mission on this earth. So your mission on this earth is to help others, to inspire others, to show others, to other people rise, other women rise because of your experience, your strength.
So, on the back of that, what
Yes.
advice would you give any woman listening to us today who is at that crossroads, at the messy bit of her life? What advice would you give them in order to get through that?
Yeah, I mean, now, luckily, women today, I believe, are in a fantastic era because going back to the 80s and 90s, there was nothing. Now, there are centres they can reach. There's yourself, there's me in the public eye, being a counsellor. There's it, and not only that, it's not you're not shamed into reaching out because the biggest thing then was shame into
Mm.
reaching out. You know, going if you reached out meant you're weak.
Yeah. Yeah, there was so much shame.
There was so much
Yeah.
shame, and
Yeah.
especially for a woman, so much shame. So really, is to go within, write things down if you have to. If you're that sort of person, write them down. Write them down, take them off, and do one thing at a time. But don't lose yourself in the story. The story, you can get lost in the story,
Mm.
and then the story brings you down.
Mm.
If I go back to my story, my childhood wasn't a very nice childhood. I could get lost in that story and then be a victim of that story.
Mm.
Well, if you do that, that's just going to bring you down. So you reach out in a positive way.
Not to be a victim. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's fantastic. Because that state of victimhood
Yeah,
can just make you wallow in self-pity.
exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
So before we finish this session today, Tony, I just want to ask one dramatic
Go
question.
on then.
If your life were to be a movie at this point of your
Yeah.
life,
Yes.
what would you title? What would that movie be called?
Oh my God. Right. Well, first and foremost, I'd love to be in a movie.
Yeah, you were on a stage play, weren't
Oh,
you?
I
Because we came
was.
to what was it? The
Yes.
Tempest.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. That's
Lovely.
right. So I think my movie would be really interesting because it would inspire women. In fact, it would inspire men as well,
Yes,
actually,
definitely.
because it can be the other way around.
Oh
It's not.
gosh,
It
yes.
can be the other way around.
Mhm.
You can have a really dominant woman, and the man isn't able to rise,
Yes.
and then the man gets felt that he's small, he's not seen, and he's in this loop of forever being the victim. He feels lost because he's not able to shine. They're not, you can get a husband who is just forever bringing you down, making you feel small. And it's difficult to
Rise. Yeah.
rise from that. That it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy, but it happens the other way around. So my movie would be of a phoenix rising from the ashes over and over again and never giving up.
Oh, fantastic.
That's what it would
Well,
be.
that's I've always said to you that when I see you or speak to you, the phoenix is always what comes in my head.
Really,
Oh gosh, yeah, because it's all about
it
rising
is
all the time.
all the time.
When life beats you down, you
Yeah.
just have to rise,
And reinvent yourself.
reinvent
I
yourself.
mean, if I go back to a hairdresser, working for corporate companies, I mean, that in itself, with the divorces challenging, the little kids, no benefit from nowhere, fighting my corner that I deserve the same salary as a man
Mm,
because I did. I went to my boss and I said, "Look, this is not good."
no,
That kind of thing, and then going into self-employment,
yeah,
then a counsellor, and now doing my holistic thing, which I've always been spiritual. So I've always done like run two things parallel, as if like God's been shielding me. So
yeah,
I've done all the other things. So now I'm going to go into my holistic practices, which brings a knowing of yourself, finding out who you are at soul essence, and really healing yourself and not beating yourself up to what you think is a failure, because it's not.
no,
It's a
it's not.
learning.
So it's always a learning
Yeah.
curve. Oh, thank you so much,
Oh,
Tony,
well,
for
thank you
sharing
so
your
much.
lovely and compelling story today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
I've been looking forward to have you on, honestly, because like I always say, you inspire me. And when I really feel like I've had enough, and I think, well, how am I going to tell Tony that, you know what, I'm throwing in the towel? Then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll just stick in there. So thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
your story is a reminder that life is in layers.
Very much
Yeah,
so.
it's in layers, and resilience is at the core of everything
It
we need
absolutely is,
to
and
carry
especially
on,
for women.
especially for women.
Women have got so they're multitaskers.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
We
Yeah.
are not just 1D.
Mm-hmm.
We have different facets, and we merge those quite nicely.
Yeah.
You think of the roles we have to play in our lives, and then also attend to ourselves, our well-being. In this life, you still want to look glamorous, you still want to
Oh
look
gosh, yeah, it's
gorgeous.
important.
That you've still got to do all those
Yeah.
things as well as everything else.
Yeah. Very key.
So
Yeah. So thank you,
thank
Tony.
you.
So you mentioned being in a male dominated field in
Yes,
the real estate world.
yes.
That's really reflective of how my career in the military was as well. And that's not even in this country, back in my country,
Wow.
where it was so male dominated
Yeah,
that again, each time you have to try to prove yourself,
yeah,
to show you, to try and be taken seriously,
yeah.
you know. And naturally, we as humans, we tend to have an imposter syndrome.
Mm,
So when you happen to be in that field where you're not even taken seriously, the imposter syndrome gets worse.
it does. Yeah,
So for me, it took a while to finally know that, okay, I deserve to be on this table,
that's
in
right.
the military. Then it took years before I could beat my chest and say, I'm good at what I do. So at what point did you start to really believe you have a seat on this particular table in terms of business?
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to every single thing you've just said, because you look around a table like
Mm-hmm.
you would have done,
Yeah.
and all you see is male faces.
Male faces
That's all you see,
with a condescending
with a
look.
condescending look.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we'd have breaks in management meetings, and they'd be patronising and go, "Ah, yeah, you seem calm today," just to trigger you.
Yeah. Oh, you seem calm today.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
something stupid.
Yeah.
Something stupid
Yeah.
because you're in a board meeting, so
Yes.
they're not going to say, "Oh," like they probably
Yeah.
would do in your world, where they would have said, "Oh, you didn't use that rifle properly." They'd use a language that was constituted office-based language, just something that would try and trip you up and make you feel uncomfortable.
I remember my first experience in a court martial.
Oh
So
yeah.
I was a lieutenant. The first time I was posted to be a judge advocate
Mm,
in a court martial, I was just recently commissioned, had zero confidence in myself. And I reported to this unit. It was a brigade headquarters
mm,
where the court was going to take place. And I walked into the courtroom the first day of court. So the president of the court, because usually military courts are a jury system where there's a president and then there are members of the
mm,
court, and you, who I trained lawyer, would be the judge advocate.
mm,
So I walk into the courtroom and I saw my president of the court, who at the time was a colonel,
mm.
and I saluted him as was customary. And rather than salute back or accept the
Yeah,
compliment, he goes, "And who sent this small girl here
exactly,
as my judge advocate?"
exactly,
That was the first time he was seeing me, and all he could do was totally dash my confidence
exactly,
in a
exactly.
very demeaning and condescending way. He goes, "Who sent this girl here?"
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was a girl, even though I was in my military
Yeah,
uniform. He just belittled me.
exactly.
And you know what? It also brought out the fighter in me, because I
Exactly.
gave him the toughest time of that
Yeah,
court
yeah.
period. And at the end of that court session, he became somebody I was really close to.
Well, that's the
Yes,
paradox.
exactly.
That is
Because
the absolute
showing I
paradox.
was really
Yeah,
stubborn,
yeah,
then he had to
yeah.
respect me.
Correct.
And I made sure I delivered professionally.
Yeah,
At the end of it all, before I left the army, he was one of the people I looked up to and I really
yeah.
respected.
That is the paradox, and that actually is really, really important point. So if you react in a way that gives them a reason to justify what they're saying, you're just like going into their hands. So you
Exactly.
have to rise above it, and
Prove yourself.
I am me. You're
Yeah.
not going to overshadow me.
Yes.
And that's the point, really. And that's how you overcome. And then what happens is slowly they respect you and actually look at you. It's amazing how when you see the switch happen,
Yeah. You know when
you
it starts to,
know, don't
yes,
you, when that
definitely.
switch and they've got full respect for you. And it's so empowering as a woman when you know you've at that level.
Yes.
It's unbelievable feeling.
Yeah.
So to anyone, keep going. Don't give up.
Definitely. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow us for more episodes where we'll have more women come in to share their stories of resilience, because that's what my 9 lives is all about. How we rise again even when life hits you down, how you reinvent yourself. And I remain Amakalot, and thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
bye.
Thank you.